Episode 5. The Touch. Pleased to make your acquaintance, Nova. Agnes radiated a noble, daring coolness, her deep voice saturated with shades of curiosity and mischief. One glance was enough to understand. She should never be underestimated. She is a matriarch according to vampire customs. I have to kiss her hand, ignore her, nod. Shit. I want not ignore her, that would be really bad. Kiss her hand? Question mark? Taking her hand, Nova curtsied and kissed her hand, then rose with a polite smile. Likewise, Agnes. The vampire responded with a regal nod. There was no arrogance in the gesture. On the contrary, she seemed impressed. Judging by Lucian's expression, he was glad Nova didn't disregard his faction's etiquette. Okay, phew. You absolutely must show me what you can do. I've heard the most incredible things about you. I bet rumors about me are very exaggerated. She's being modest. Fausse prudie is false modesty. If that's the case, you shouldn't be. Truly strong women shouldn't engage in fausse pruderie. Now that the greetings were over, the two women joined the others at the table. Nova settled down between Onyx and Talus. They saved a chair for her. Vesper cleared her throat before speaking. She looked tired, but wore her usual confidence as if no illness could weaken her will. The outfit designs were provided by the readers of Sirach Null, as she is part of the competition of the channel at Vesper's feet. Sorry, what now? What did I miss? Anyway. Alright, so we've got Med B, Morgan, Danu. There's an outfit competition and I missed this judgment? Sadness, alright. I like Morgan. It's very classy and I don't know, exudes a kind of professional female thing. I don't know. A lot of women in the 80s used to wear those types of outfits from my recollection. That and the shoulder pads, anyway. But black, though. And what's the third one? Danu. Actually, that one's not a bad one either. It's a lot of jewelry, though. Let's go with Med B. Interesting outfits. I guess some sort of competition? Let me know what it was in the comment section. Please excuse me, I don't feel well. Let me start by thanking you for coming. I would like to emphasize once again that all the information shared here must be kept in the strictest of confidences. The only question we can answer are those concerning the artifact. Please don't take this as a display of discourtesy. What we do is... No need to worry. I contacted Constantino. He explained that your mission is of a sensitive nature. He will also be taking care of the compensation, Vesper. Our clans should resolve this together. The Alliance doesn't need to get involved. Good. Thank you. In the short pause that followed, Nova found herself studying Lucian. What does it feel like to be around his ex-wife again? The woman who hurt him so much. But then again, it's been so long, a literal lifetime. Good question. Almost nothing about him betrayed anxiety or discomfort. Almost. His body language remained casual, yet Nova couldn't help but notice how unnaturally still his eyes were. Is he trying not to look at her? I think I have to be extremely cautious. It's too early to draw any conclusions. I don't think he ever went into depth of why they ended, but I do remember he turned her, right? Because she wanted it. I'm gonna be I don't like to draw conclusions. Alright, let's do that one. Sun. Realizing she was too caught up in her thoughts, Nova returned to reality. And I only care to serve as an intermediary and make sure my clan's interests aren't violated. Radu will be the one helping you. If anyone possesses the knowledge you seek, it would be him. Radu resembling an indifferent statue, with an absence of even the slightest of movement, finally blinked at the sound of his name. Do you mind if I speak French? My Italian leaves a lot to be desired. I haven't used it in a while. Of course, I'll translate. Really? I was kind of going for a Walter White thing. Or not Walter, but White, but Walter from Helsing. Damn it. Radu then continued speaking French fluently with only a slight accent. Lucian listened attentively, then repeated his words in Italian. Or we could just read from... It's so complicated. I'm a scientist. I started my career researching resonant properties of spatial pendulums and their interactions with the currents of my present. But I am presently interested in everything that has to do with magical artifacts. In almost 200 years of practice, I've come across many of them. Therefore, I think I'll be able to identify what it is you've found. He remained completely serious. His lips barely moved when he spoke. His words were nothing but dry facts, and yet they left an unpleasant aftertaste, as if Radu had just listed a series of unfounded claims. Nova noticed Onyx's grimace slightly. She seemed to have gotten a similar impression of the vampire. 200 years of practice. Wow. Hope one day I'll find something that interests me as much. The corners of Radu's lips twitched upward for a moment, but it could hardly be called a smile. I'm lucky. Science makes it impossible to get bored. I could see that. After 200 years, science has really improved. So tell me about the artifact. We should start with what's important. I'll mention how we found it, its appearance, the consequences of touching it. Consequences of touching it so far. Seriously. A witch from her team, Bay, picked it up. After that, her presence activated and she lost consciousness. She hasn't come to. It's as if she's asleep. Shin's voice sounded lower than usual, full of worry, which he no longer tried to hide. Really? His impassive face lit up with emotion, not sympathy, but excitement. I've never heard of anything like that. I need to take a look at the artifact. Follow me. Everyone started getting up from their seats. I think I should stay here. Lucian, may I take advantage of your hospitality and ask for a cup of coffee? Of course. Coffee. Can I also take advantage of your hospitality? No? Okay. Onyx and Talus went to the office to take care of some other work, while Vesper, Shen, and Nova escorted their new acquaintance to the living room. As soon as they entered, Radu practically ran up to the stand without waiting for an invitation. His reserve disappeared in an instant, his gaze fixed on the object behind the glass. He switched back to Italian. Any other information? Yes, have you heard about the liminalites? Of course I have. One of them told us that there were voices coming from the cube. Oh, how many? Shit, I think it was 2? Yeah, there was a man and a woman, according to Renato. Yay for my memory. I need my bag. I left it in the hallway. Radu spoke in a commanding tone without looking away from the artifact. Fine, I'll go get your goddamn bag. I've got it. Shin, ready to run errands for some stranger, that's new. A minute later, the warlock brought a heavy-looking bag into the living room. Radu began pulling out all sorts of items, from thick tomes to stacks of scribbled papers to objects unfamiliar to the catcher. The analysis would take time. You don't have to stand there. His annotation left no doubt that he was asking them to leave. How long? As long as it takes. Vesper raised an eyebrow, folding her arms over her chest, but Radu didn't notice, too busy searching for information in a book that smelled of sour moisture. Ugh. Something tells me that even if he had noticed, he wouldn't care. Well, let me know if you need any help. After receiving no response from the vampire, the trio left the room. With Vesper and Shen off discussing some important matters, Nova decided to visit Renato. She needed to find Lucian to ask him to transport her to the hunting lodge. She returned to the dining room. Agnes was sitting at the table, sipping fragrant coffee from a porcelain cup. There was nobody else but her. Looking for Lucian. He had to step out, have a seat. He'll probably be back soon. Ex-wife had to get away from her. Just had to. As the witch sat down, Agnes took out a vial from her bag and poured its contents into the cup. Is that blood? Okay, blood with coffee. She took a sip, her features distorted, her irises turning red for a moment. With a contented sigh, the vampire leaned back in her chair. Nova didn't want to sit in awkward silence, so she asked the first thing that came to her mind. How did you become a matriarch? She shrugged. Killed a couple of vampires. They were standing in my way. The catcher laughed softly, but then Agnes raised her eyebrows. Her smile quickly faded away. Oh, you're serious. We don't like stereotypes about our bloodlust and thirst for power, but they aren't completely unfounded. In clans, it's the strongest who prevail. Prevails and rules. Which means that someone could overthrow you at any point. They could try. But no one has controlled this clan for as long as I have. Besides, I must be doing something right, since I've been challenged only a couple of times during my rule. And what fate befell those vampires? I'm sure you can guess. Isn't it unwise to kill your own, considering you're forbidden from turning humans, vampires as a species, or on the verge of extinction? Well, some patriarchs and matriarchs run their clans differently. Some even arrange elections. She sneered as if the idea seemed downright stupid to her. But I prefer to eliminate threats. It took me too long to get to the top, too many sacrifices to make everyone take me seriously. My own position in the world matters far more to me than the preservation of the species. And no, I'm not ashamed of that. Wow. It's not my place to judge you. I'm not one of you, and I don't know what it's like. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. Thank you for not trying to impose your morals. Our culture is indeed very different from yours. After taking another sip, Agnes let her gaze lazily study the interior. Some things don't change, huh? Even after almost a century. I've never been to this house, but if I were brought here and asked to guess who it belongs to, I wouldn't even have to think twice. I want to talk to her about Lucian, why not? Yes, Lucian has a very recognizable taste. Tell me, Agnes, did Radu really need an escort? The question was rather brazen, but she didn't seem like a woman who was easily offended, nor did she seem like one who enjoyed beating around the bush. She smirked, tracing the rim of the cup with her fingertip. No, of course not. He was actually quite displeased that I had tagged along. Made him look like he couldn't handle this on his own. But nobody argues with my orders. Then why are you here? Curiosity got the better of me. When you want to get to peek into the life of your former spouse. Okay, so you haven't let it go. Got it. The one who once loved you so much that they changed their entire life for you. Who, though they would never admit it, still holds a grudge against you after all these years. Some wounds even time can't heal. Oh, believe me, I know. Lucian was a wonderful husband. He supported me, respected me, and was always there for me, but he never understood me. He only thought he did. I can't even blame him for that. It was beyond his capabilities. What do you mean? Lucian, for all his virtues, remains a man. Men simply cannot truly understand women. They can love us, sympathize with us. They can try to compare what we're going through with their own experiences, but empathy isn't the same as actual comprehension of reality. Agnes's smile was strained. It was for the best that we split up. He couldn't forgive me for lying, and I couldn't forgive him for being hurt. Lying about what? Now I'm curious. That hurt obscured his vision. He became blind to my pain. Noticing that she's clenched her fist, she relaxed her fingers and her expression softened with sadness. Probably because he himself was in too much pain. No relationship could survive that, even the strongest one. There was more suffering than love between us. By the end, we couldn't even bear to look at each other. The vampire froze. Her ear twitched. He can confirm this. Frowning in confusion, Nova turned in the direction of her gaze and saw Lucian standing in the doorway. He slowly came closer. So, you've lost some of your manners then, huh? There was something bitter and heartbreaking in her smirk, a cruel mixture of anger and regret. Please forgive me, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. Nova rose. I think I better let you two talk in private. Agnes shrugged. He's already heard everything I had to say. The weight of the past events and all their pain has saturated the air, becoming more and more pressing until... I'm sorry, Agnes. Me too, Lucian. The tension eased, but didn't dissolve completely. Nova still felt like she shouldn't be here, but somehow didn't dare to move. Agnes interrupted him with a light touch on his arm. Don't. I'm going hunting, curious to taste the local wildlife. And with that, she left the dining room, mesmerizing grace in each step. Lucian shook his head with a sigh. Do you want to talk? He gave her a sad smile. To be honest, I'd rather not. Nova hugged her friend when she pulled away. He nodded at her, grateful. I was going to visit Radu. Can you take me there? Of course. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. Once, in a small room that smelled of tar and wood smoke, they found Radu was out. He must have gone for a walk. Lucian couldn't linger, so he left the catcher to wait. Nova had been there before, but only briefly during the tour of the area. It's cold. After putting some wood in the fireplace, she cast a spell. Here, deep in the forest, streams of wild, free presence surrounded her from all sides. Magic obediently kindled the fire, and Nova sank into a chair, enjoying the warmth. She thought about the conversation between Vesper and Shin that she had overheard. An army. A chill ran down her arms. The climax is near. The conflict between the church and the magistrum and the others is going to reach its boiling point again. And I will play a key role in this conflict. I'm proud of it, I hate it, I wonder where all this is leading. Really. I can fantasize about this as much as I want to, but who knows how everything will actually end. Closing her eyes, Nova didn't even notice how she dozed off, lulled by the soft swaying of the chair and the crackling of the fireplace. So much had happened last night, it was no wonder she didn't get enough sleep. It was the slamming of the door that woke her up. Nova, good morning. Good morning. I hope it's okay that I came. I wanted to check on you after last night. He grimaced at the memory brushing off the dirt that had clung to his clothes during his walk. It was a nightmare. I feel like I can still hear the echo of their voices. Those two souls that are trapped inside the cube. What is that object? Are you going to interact with it? Nova shook her head. We don't know anything about it yet. And if you did, you wouldn't be able to tell me anyway. Sorry, I'm forgetting about that. Who is that woman in the living room? She didn't wake up when the alarm went off. Bay. She works for Vesper. She's in that condition because of the cube, isn't she? Yes. I hope you can help her. Me too. He sighed heavily, sinking onto the sofa. Haggard and hunched over, he looked absolutely exhausted. She sat down next to him. Those two, they're not just hurt, Nova, they're in agony. He squeezed his eyes shut, pressing on his temples. But I can't remember what they were shouting. It was too loud and incoherent. You can do it. What if you try to relax? He smiled mirthlessly. That's very difficult. I know. But you're putting too much pressure on an exhausted mind. It's impossible to... He started up, eyes wide. It's impossible. Huh? It's impossible. That's exactly what one of them said. Oh. Interesting. But what to do with that information is still unclear. Perhaps I should let it go before I drive myself crazy. He looked around, searching for something to distract himself with. Oh, right, I found some berries in the forest. He walked to the door to pick up a small pouch that he left on the windowsill. Pouch of berries. Take a look. Are you sure they're not poisonous? Yeah, I am. This is blackthorn. My grandmother and I would often pick them in winter. They immersed themselves in conversation about his family, childhood. Nova tried the berries. They were tart and sour, but Renata liked them for some reason. Soon, she got up to leave. Are you going to ask Lucian or Shin to take you back? No, I'll walk. I could use some fresh air. After digging out a heavy coat in one of the closets and checking the map, Nova said goodbye to him and went back to the mansion. Oh, so it's not that far. The living room was empty except for Bay and Radu. As soon as the catcher entered, the man shot her a sharp look. His eyes didn't appear silver like those of the vampires. They were white, burning with hunger. His hunger was not for blood, but for knowledge. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been doing this work for so many years. Why are you here? I wanted to find out how the search is going, offer help. Find out how the search is going. He clicked his tongue. When I have something to share, I will report to Madame Kane. Putting aside his papers, Radu got up from his chair and approached Bay. He held out his hand. He's going to touch her. Stop him? Do nothing. Do nothing. Surely he knows what he's doing. The vampire lifted her upper eyelid and leaned closer to examine her pupils with a folding magnifying glass. Nothing unusual came after he made contact, so it's safe to touch her. Okay. Evidentimum. Evidentiment. It's an artifact that's dangerous, so not its victim. We thought this magic might be able to spread through those who were exposed to it. You thought wrong. Radu let her eyelids close. Pulling down the edge of her turtleneck, he brought the magnifying glass to her neck, then carefully examined her fingers. After that, he returned to his chair and made a few notes. Not looking up, he spoke again in a stern tone. Your presence here distracts me. Please, leave, as you won't be useful anyway. Love you, you're so polite. Are you sure? And I'm talking about him. He a rude little shit. A hint of defiance in her voice made him gaze up, tilting his head to the side in silent challenge. Nova put her hands on her hips. She said that without thinking, in an attempt to knock the scientist down a peg. Staying silent now would mean losing. She didn't like to lose. Think, Nova, there must be something. Her mind grasped the memory She has runic tattoos on her forearms, I think. I've seen them before. She can absorb the spell that was used against her and fire it back at the assailant if she wants to. Such tattoos only store magic for a short period of time. Still, there might be something like a residue left in them. Wouldn't hurt to check, right? He tapped his pencil on the paper. It wouldn't. After a long pause, he added, "Thank you for your contribution." "You're welcome. I'll get going." She left the living room, pleased with herself. Walking down the hallway, Nova suddenly felt a strange burning sensation in her chest. It only lasted for a moment. It was as if something drowned it out. Onyx, she's unwell, but she doesn't want me to know? She went up to the door of the room, hearing quiet sobs from inside. Knock. Perhaps he doesn't want to be disturbed, but I can't just leave. Nova knocked tentatively. The sobbing stopped, but nothing else happened. The catcher knocked again. "Onyx, come on, open up." She did, with her hair tousled, her eyes red, and a smile on her lips. The most fake smile Nova had ever seen. "Nova, something happened. Come on in." Yeah, it's hard to hide the eyes. I was going to ask the same question. Her eyes darted around the room. "Oh, I'm fine. I was just listening to sad music. You probably don't know this band. The catcher shook her head, ignoring the description. A music player was nowhere to be seen, so there was no doubt. "You're lying." "What? No." Stepping closer, Nova put her hand on Onyx's waist. She tried to sound as gentle as possible when she spoke. "Please. I can see you. Don't. Just don't. I don't want to talk right now. You should go." She wrapped her arms around herself and turned away. Her shoulders trembled, and her cat ears pressed so close to her head that they almost bended like her hair. Usually, in moments like this, Nova would nod, offer a hug, show sympathy, try to provide support, and do as she was told. She wanted to be a good partner, one who didn't push, didn't demand, and didn't insist. But now she felt like the poisonous spark of her resentment ignite within her. It had been there before, but this time it refused to be extinguished. "You never want to talk, Onyx. Is it just with me, or with Talus, too? How long have we known each other? How long have we been in this relationship? We kiss, we hug, we have fun, cook, watch movies, but as soon as the conversation turns to your feelings, your worries, reasons for your anxiety, a wall goes up right in front of me." The spark turned into a blaze. Part of her was urging her to stop, but another part, the one she tried so long to ignore, wouldn't listen. "No matter what I do, no matter how much time I give you, you refuse to let me in. It's unfair. You can't keep pushing me away." "I'm not pushing you away." "Yes, you are. What's wrong with your mother? What's going on with her? Why don't you want to talk about her?" "Because it hurts." That hurt, burning, searing, intertwined with despair and fear, pierced them both. It rained down in blows, choking them, ready to ruin every last beautiful thing between them. "Oh, Onyx." Nova walked up to her, and Onyx fell into her arms. No longer holding back the tears, it took only one crack for the wall to collapse altogether. "She's always hated me, even before I became an other, and even more so after that. She loathes everything about me. The way I talk, what I wear, what I do, what kind of music I listen to, and you know why? Because I am her child. She can't stand any of us. When we were kids, she'd turn us against each other, poison our existences at every opportunity. Every day she'd go on and on about all the ways we've ruined her life, but took no measures to not get pregnant, because using contraception is a sin. A sin. She never even went to church, for fuck's sake. If it weren't for her health, she would have kept bringing more miserable souls into this wretched world. Tension coursed through the Anamorphos's body. The sorrow receded, making way for rage. Onyx clenched her fist, her pupils narrowing in barely visible slits. And then, the result. 7 children who hate each other and her. I kept hoping she'd give me an orphanage, or give me up to an orphanage, and even prayed for it once. I tried running away, but they'd always find me. My entire childhood, just total darkness. All I knew was hate. I thought it would all end when I grew up and moved out, but the darkness never let go of me. Every relationship I had fell apart because I smothered it with pain. And I really wanted people to like me. I was willing to do so much for that, even change myself. I became funny, approachable, available, free. The kind of person everyone started gravitating towards on their own. The angry, scared Adriana was gone, replaced by cheerful, carefree Onyx. There was more bitterness and anguish in that smile of hers than in all the tears she had shed. Adriana, her name at birth. Onyx is the life of the party, loved by everyone. Everyone except for one warlock who somehow knew it was all a sham. She took her head rueful, the wave of emotions that had poured out left her completely drained. She sank onto the bed, her usual sonorant voice grew hoarse. My mother has dementia. Every time I visit her, I feel like I'm returning to an old nightmare, only somehow everything has gotten even worse. She confuses me with my brothers and sisters, sometimes takes me for one of her lovers. It's the hardest when she thinks I'm her father or mother. That makes her remember her own childhood, and she cries a lot. When Onyx looked at her, Nova couldn't find the right words and just wrapped her arms around the other woman's shoulders. Onyx buried her face in Nova's stomach, breathing deeply and slowly as the witch stroked her head and back. I wasn't pretending with you. I mean, I was, but only in the very beginning. And then I felt like you switched something inside of me. I realized I didn't have to force my smiles, that my laugh wasn't fake, that I was drawn to you, not because I wanted anyone's attention, but because I wanted your attention. But I also feared that if I opened up, it would scare you away. You'd see how distrustful and not so cheerful I can be, and then it'd be all over. I'd lose you. You and Talus both. He's known me longer, and so I couldn't hide as much from him, but I can see he's starting to lose his patience too. To push someone like him to that point, you have to try really hard. Unfortunately, I seem to be succeeding. Cupping her face, Nova met Onyx's gaze. Her heart was bursting with both sadness for what her beloved had gone through, and a sparkling warm sense of closeness. That was the feeling she wanted to experience for so long. I'm so sorry your mom raised you all like that. I'm sorry you thought people could only like you if everything was easy with you. It's not true. Neither of us is finding this easy, but it won't destroy our relationship. I won't leave at the first sign of trouble, just like you didn't leave when you found out I worked for the Vatican. I want to be with you, Onyx. Hear me? With you. Even if it's not fun, even if it's painful, it will be real. She swallowed. Was she really going to say that out loud? I love you. I love you, and I want to know what's on your mind because... Onyx didn't finish her sentence. Onyx squeezed her so tightly that she lost access to oxygen for a moment. Muttering something incoherent through yet another flood of tears, Onyx pulled her into a hot, tremulous, most sensual and unforgettable kiss. A few days later. I would appreciate it if some of you would stay to the end of the video. Radu's search wasn't at a standstill, but hadn't yet yielded concrete results. The vampire was quite protective of his work and reluctant to accept help. Base condition remained stable, but they couldn't bring her back without more information about the cube. But at least she wasn't getting worse. The days were once again filled with reading old books. Digging through various materials, Nova quickly fell back into the familiar rhythm.
Nova, time to take a break.
Putting down his book and getting up from the bed, Talus beckoned the cat to follow, but then she sat down, her own reading aside. I didn't even notice how numb I was, especially my back.
I can help with that. Sit on the floor.
Without asking any questions, Nova settled down on the floor with her back against the bed. Talus sat on the bed with his legs on either side of her, and then gently put her arms around his neck. Resting his feet on her hips, he held onto her shoulders.
Exhale when I pull. 3, 2, or 1, 2, 3.
I read backwards. When he finished helping her stretch, her whole body hummed with relaxation. Nova rested the back of her head against his shoulder. "Oh, my hero." He chuckled, his cheeks slightly pink. His gaze fell on her lips and rested somewhere on the floor.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
You do want to be here with me, right? Sincerely?
Nova frowned, withdrawing a bit to get a better look at his face.
It's just, our situation isn't exactly common, you know? Sometimes I get a little worried that you're only here with me because of Onyx's feelings for both of us. Not because you actually like me.
I do, of course I like you very much. But I get why you asked. To be honest, I find myself thinking the same thing sometimes, that you just wanted me, or wanted to be with Onyx, and I was an addition. Sort of. That you decided to be with both of us because you couldn't be with only her. Alice's fingers tightened slightly on her shoulders.
That isn't true. I was jealous when I first saw that something was going on between the two of you. But I was also glad Onyx could have a partner like you. I always considered you a good person. And then you and I had the conversation in the kitchen. You took my hand and I couldn't get a good night's sleep for a while. A week. Kept trying to figure out why I felt what I felt at the moment. I couldn't get it out of my head. After a while, I finally found that courage to admit that I liked you too, and that made me feel like something was wrong with me. As if I'd betrayed my crush on Onyx. As if my feelings for you devalued my feelings for her.
Killing my voice right now, dude. I regret giving him the voice I did.
Oh. And I couldn't help it. You walked into the room, and my throat suddenly went dry, kinda like right now. And then I saw you and Onyx together. It made me both sad and somehow happy. Anyway, I thought I was going to lose my mind. They say black cats are unlucky, but I thought I was the champion of bad luck, falling in love with two people I didn't have a chance with. And then you two came to me with your confessions.
Nova winced, laughing. Don't remind me. I wanted the earth to open up and swallow me whole. He chuckled, gently running his fingers over her arm.
It was sweet. Awkward, but very sweet. I still can hardly believe everything worked out the way it did. It feels too good to be true.
Their eyes met and Talus leaned in, pulling her into a soft kiss. She exhaled, pressing lightly on the back of his head to get even closer. She loved the smell of his shampoo, something exclusively fresh. Snow on top of a mountain or rocks in the forest submerged in spring water. When the cat's away, the mice will play. Talus and Nova broke their kiss. Wait, when were you two kissing? Too busy with each other, they hadn't noticed when their partner came back. Onyx stood with her arms folded across her chest, leaning against the doorway. Her tail swayed playfully from side to side.
There's only one mouse here.
He pulled the catcher closer. Can't decide what I want more, to continue watching you or join you. Ruh-roh. I'm having a roller coaster of emotions after Onyx's thing. That again, I'll talk to you at the end of the video about. And then this, it's like we had a really, really down period, and then we're going really, really up. Alright, fine. We'll see how far this will go. You know how YouTube is. All of us deserve a long break. Nova settled onto the bed. Onyx joined them, and she found herself lying between her two partners. So what were you two chatting about while I was gone? How amazing I am?
Yeah, right.
Cuddling, they fell into a conversation about everything and nothing at all, as they'd done many times before, until the atmosphere in the room changed when Nova fell on Onyx during her attempt to take a pillow away from her. She propped herself up on her elbows, but her chest remained pressed against Onyx's and her hip against Talus's leg. Their laughter died down for some reason. What was happening felt more intimate than all the physical closeness they were used to. Sorry, I didn't mean to... It's all right. The tension between them was palpable. They exchanged glances, trying to figure out if they were thinking the same thing. I could be an adult and just ask. But how do I form a coherent sentence when I'm squished between the two beautiful people? Summoning all of her willpower, Nova tried to pull away, but Onyx, with a clearly mischievous look in her eyes, took her by the shoulders and pulled her into a firm kiss. With a soft gasp of surprise, Nova leaned in to meet her. Talus put his hand on her waist, tracing small circles, and she felt Onyx stroking his forearm. Her thoughts turned into an unintelligible lump. Blushing slightly, Nova followed the desire hiding deep inside of her and began kissing Onyx's neck, certain that when she moved lower, the Anamorphics would find Talus's lips with her own. The pressure of their bodies on hers was making her crave more. Their hands wandered over her. Breaking away from each other, her partner started covering her neck and collarbone with hot kisses. Wait. What are we doing? Onyx and Talus froze. I don't know. Something very pleasant.
It's been a long time since we've talked about physical intimacy.
Listen, you haven't even talked about this, brother. You haven't even done it. Literally. Now feels like a great opportunity for that. Not great, Nova. If anything, this is the worst time for talking. I prefer actions, not words.
But we need to figure out our boundaries.
My safe word is watermelon. We can play red, yellow, and green. I gotta make you guys laugh, right? His voice failed as Onyx's fingers ran over his waist. You know what they say, you won't know until you try. We could progress slowly and stop if one of us needs to. That's a great plan.
Agreed.
Nova sat up to take a good look at both of them. The blush on their cheeks and their swollen lips made her shiver. There was so many things she wanted to do with him, and even more she wanted them to do to her. Yet she didn't move. The conversation had cooled her ardor. The veil of passion lifted, bringing back shyness and fear of doing something wrong. Deciding to take the initiative, no surprise it's Onyx, she kissed Talus. Talus tangled his fingers in her unruly curls, allowing her tongue into his mouth. Watching them with admiration, Nova inhaled sharply when she suddenly felt something soft graze her back. Onyx's tail had snuck under her clothes, sending goosebumps down her spine. It slid down from her neck to her tailbone and curved near her stomach, higher until it reached the bottom of her breasts. When the tip of the tail circled her nipples, a moan escaped her lips. And that's the benefit of having a tail. Oh, hearing that sound, Talus broke the kiss and pulled her onto him, getting her to straddle him. Of the three of them, he was clearly most cautious and rarely gave in to sudden impulses, but so this loss of control took his partner's breath away. Ruh-roh. We did a ruh-roh. If you want to see images that were CG and could not be shared on here, join the Discord. Link down below. Okay, which was interrupted by a burst of presents. Vesper's message. She was asking everyone to come down to the living room. As much as they wanted to stay in the bedroom, just the three of them, it was time to get back to the world.
Radu must have found something.
I need to go change. Yeah, I'll see you downstairs. When they left, Nova got up from the bed. I need to get ready too. The outfits designed were provided by readers as part of the competition as okay, more stuff like this. Sayin, Yana. What in the holy hell is this word? Fort Turilindindi. We're not even gonna try. Lena. Varvara. Buy all outfits. I mean, the Saiyan one actually looks really nice. Yana looks alright too. These are some interesting outfits. That one looks alright. I like the nails. I see the nails do change with the outfits too. She wears a glove in that one. She's became Michael Jackson pretty much. That's what Lena's outfit is. It's Michael Jackson. Varvaria. I'm gonna go with Cyan. We've already spent 300 diamonds already. Current hairstyle. Ooh. Okay, I like that hairstyle. I like all the, like, that one. So the half up, effortless half up for both of those hairstyles, those actually look really nice. Braided look good too. I actually like all the hairstyles. Wow, I'm gonna have to get that one though. Come on now. It really... But I wish I could go for both. But I'm gonna go with the red one. As soon as Nova entered the living room, Radu began talking in French. Lucien barely had time to translate. The catcher had never seen the scientist so energetic.
Absolutely remarkable. You have no idea how lucky you are.
Luck had nothing to do with this. Go on.
The object is one of few of its kind. I managed to find references to 4 of them, but it's impossible to trace their location. Then I cannot even be 100% sure of all instances aren't actually referring to something else.
He spoke, never taking his eyes off the cube behind the glass.
That's because of such artifacts are extremely dangerous. Their presence is cruel, distorted, incredibly strong. We already knew this thing uses powerful magic. Anything useful? I haven't even begun to find out who exactly created it, what it was named, and so will be using the name I gave it for convenience. Nihilite.
What prevented us from continuing to call it a cube? Why not? He's a scientist. He has to call it something. It's their weird thing. Don't at me.
It's a vault, a prison, a portal. A vault for an item that needs to be protected at all costs. A prison for those who dare to try to take possession of this item. It's a vault, a prison, a portal, a vault for an item that needs to be protected. A prison for those dare to take possession of this item.
A portal.
To the prison, of course.
Sorry if I repeated that, but basically my throat was killing me. I had to take a drink.
It's the only mind that is transferred and the body remains here. That's what happened to your friend. After touching the Nilahite, she found herself in a different dimension and now is trying to find a way out.
So, it exists a way out.
If there is an entrance, there is also an exit, but it's carefully hidden.
That means there are 3 people inside the Nilahite. Now, Bay and two others who didn't return to their bodies, they died, but their minds are still captured?
Exactly.
Vesper went pale. The same could happen to Bay.
It's most important that her mind is somewhere to go back to. As long as her body is safe, there's nothing to worry about. However, if something happens to her...
The room fell into an ominous silence. They regularly injected Bay with tinctures from Jorge's friend, which helped to stabilize her presence, but that didn't guarantee safety from exhaustion. It would come, sooner or later. Is there any information about the dimension? What it is exactly?
There are virtually no records of that. I can assume that the Nilhite's presence adjusts to each individual and toys with them to see if they're worthy of accessing the center.
One of the voices said it's impossible. Perhaps he was referring to the fact that no one would be able to get out.
So, is the item inside the Nilhite stored at its center? No, it can only be obtained from a physical dimension by opening the Nilhite with a key. I believe that is why there's a line on one of the faces. As for the center, I think it hides a clue for how to find the key and what it is. Every Nilhite has its own. Theoretically, I can find, or you can find, the key without having to interact with it. But even if you somehow manage to do it, it won't save your friend. The Nilhite is to free her itself. My theory is that you can only contact her once you're inside, but even that is no more than a theory.
A moment of deep quiet, an exchange of glances, and the verdict. I don't think we have a choice. We must enter it. Thank the developers. I give you a 4 out of 5. By the time I was done with this episode, my voice was killing me. Alright, first and foremost, 2 sun, 1 moon, 3 status, no power. No, hold on. Alright, so I got my 3 diamonds. First and foremost, remember that if you did enjoy the content, to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below letting me know. Also, as you can see here, we're currently waiting for the next update. The time capture is about to embark on yet another dangerous mission. So, aside from that, playing, doing this app and playing some catch-up, doing a few things here and there, and getting it published on the channel, but so far, right now we're on 3 fully caught-up ones. So, aside from that, so, like I said, for those of you who stayed to the end, it's very much appreciated, or at least came to the end and wanted to see what I had to say. Oh, okay. I'm sure some of us can all agree that we haven't had the best parents in the world, and I, for one, definitely did not. I really didn't have, I'll just put it this way. My father wanted nothing to do with me as a baby, literally tried to kill me. So, my mother took me away, left me with her grandparents, and she went off and did her own thing. And my grandparents were not the best people in the world. However, besides that whole issue, which is, pretty crazy story in and of itself. We'll just fast forward to how I can relate to Onyx. Because to tell you what happened with my grandparents raising me was just, it's pretty crazy. Far significantly more traumatic than what Onyx went through, but this isn't a comparison, that's just saying. So in terms of the whole purpose is to talk about our mothers, right? Yeah, okay. So, my mother has made me feel the same way that Onyx has been made to feel. And then, lo and behold, she proceeded to bring 2 other brothers into existence. Not once even trying to, like Onyx said, prevent it. Miserable souls who pretty much were going to go through the same upbringing that I was going to go through. But they are actually special needs. So they already have a different battle than I had, right? I was born normal. They were born special needs. So I had a decision to make where I either continued living my life and doing my things and being successful and going off and away and leaving them to rinse and repeat what I went through, or to step in and take care of them. And I stepped in and took care of them. Um, and I'm glad I did that, right? Versus them going through what I went through. Um, I'm glad though I didn't go through that as a child. I don't know how that would have, like, I don't know how any of that would have panned out, right? Onyx at least had the siblings around her age, so her story is different in that avenue. Um, but to me made feel like, to basically, I love my brothers as if they were my own, but people say things and do things and whatnot that try and put a wedge in between that, right? I'm a person that, kind of like Onyx, very much so agree with that, is trying to say and do things and be Mr. Happy, humor, make everybody laugh, like the whole nine yards. Like, if you've been listening to me long enough, you know I'm not Mr. Downy and angry and sad and all this other shit. You guys know I typically try and make you laugh, right? Um, and I try and keep my problems and issues and demons that I've dealt with and currently dealing with, that they never do, as Onyx said, they never do leave you alone. They never will until your last breath, right? Um, it's just, I'm glad though. I did meet some people. They were what I consider spots of light throughout the darkness of my childhood and whatnot. That kept me, I don't know. They made me realize that there was good things in life versus just all bad. Right? They were little tiny spots. We'll just say, imagine looking up at the sky and no longer seeing the stars versus seeing a star. Right? That's about the only way I can put it. That will make you understand without going far longer and ranting far longer. So I definitely understand Onyx. I definitely understand anyone else going through those issues and whatnot. And again, everyone's story is completely different. Sometimes we try and find similarities, or at least try and be like, like, I have people that tell me their stories all the time and some of the struggles they've gone through and whatnot. And all you can do is listen, right? Not everybody wants pity. Some people want pity. Like, everybody wants a certain, like, difference, but typically 100% across the board, people just want to be listened to. And that way, they feel like, this is what I've gone through, and now you understand me. And I've never actually got to do that from start to close with any individual in my entire life as I've been alive. Not a single person. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of us just want, is someone who will understand what we've gone through and just be there to support us. And that's what I've tried to be for people who've reached out to me and talked to me. A support. That's it. Just someone that will listen to you and never hurt you, never aim to use those things against you. Like a lot of people, let's be honest. It's one of the reasons why a lot of guys don't talk about what they go through, is because we know that people will use it against us. Now, don't get me wrong, there are women who will, say something to someone and they'll be used against them too, but 90% of the time it happens to guys. Unfortunately. Unfortunately, that does happen a lot more often to guys, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people go, why don't guys open up? Why don't guys talk about their issues? That's why. Right there. It's one of the reasons why I don't really talk about my issues. Again, I totally understand Onyx's, I totally relate to her in terms of trying to be a completely different person. I definitely do. And sometimes you have to wear so many masks and so many outfits and so many things to try and be accepted by everyone, that you actually lose your own personal identity. And I definitely feel that. So thought I would just share that. Like I said, I could talk about this issue until I really had to hold back from getting emotional during this episode. So but yeah. Definitely something that, I don't typically talk about myself, but it's something I can relate to. And it's these books, these apps, these episodes and whatnot. They're truly wonderful when they're done right and they're wrote really well and character development and everything else. Um, because it can make you relate or relatable, a character relatable to you, or you relate with them, or whatever. You connect with them on some level or another, right? That's really nice. It really is nice. And it's something that I just tip my hat to with not chapters, Jesus. Romance Club. Chapters did some good stuff too. Pixelberry used to, but unfortunately they no longer do that. So, aside from that, again, hopefully you guys did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts down below. But aside from that, look forward to more of this. Again, I'm putting this stuff out and trying to balance it on top of a lot of other things. If you ever want to know what's going on, again, join the Discord. Link down below. But otherwise, thanks again for watching. Catch y'all later. Peace out.